the next mayor of the city of New York, Zohran Mamdani.
1 year ago today, kinda.
I will be your Democratic nominee for the mayor of New York City.
Zohran won the Democratic primary and all but secured the mayor's office, snatching victory from the paws of the creep, and according to what I'm seeing on Facebook, turning the city into a cesspit of commie, Sharia, Bushwick, needle-swapping, woke, blue hair, no cops, pronouns, Hamas, kumbaya BS.
This city belongs to you.
Is that a good thing? Has Zohran the more dumb Mamdani Lenined up the Big Apple and read disgustinged it? In this episode, we decided to find out. Title card. Wait, was I supposed to say that? All right, quick plug and then we'll get back to it. As always, I want to respect your time, so here's a timestamp to skip ahead if you're not interested or not able to support the channel. I've said this before, but it is worth repeating. This channel runs on viewer support. That is just the reality of doing this kind of work. There aren't a lot of companies lining up to fund openly socialist content, and honestly, even when they do, it's not something I want to depend on long term, because at the end of the day, if your funding comes from corporations, there's always going to be pressure there. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's not, but it's never on our terms. So the alternative is pretty straightforward. If we want this kind of content to exist, it has to be supported directly by the people who actually watch it. If you're in a position to help out, Patreon is the easiest way to do that. You get some nice perks too, including early access to ad-free versions of every single video, and access to our patrons-only Discord server, complete with book club. And then there's also Means TV, which I've been really working hard to help build these last couple of years. Means is a worker-owned streaming platform, so no ads, no venture capital nonsense, it's just us normal people trying to build something that actually reflects the politics we talk about here. I've been posting some extra stuff there for a while now, including like 15 or 20 minutes of extra content for every video, and we have some bigger projects on the way too. No pressure, obviously. Watching and sharing the videos helps a lot on its own, but if you do want to go a step further and help make sure that Second Thought stays afloat, these are the best ways to do it. For those of you who already support us financially, and those of you who are on the fence, thank you so much. It really does mean the world to us. All right, that's it. Back to the video. Let's start with a list. Zohran's achievements in just 6 months in office are incredibly impressive. And at the top, you have to put free universal childcare for thousands of 2-year-olds in New York. Just 8 days into his term, Mamdani secured a $1.2 billion budget to make pre-K free in the city and add thousands of new spots for kids. Finally giving thousands of New York parents an answer to the question, how can I provide the greatest number of infectious diseases to my child at no cost? Let me tell you, I'm a parent myself, and this is a big deal. For everyone, but especially for those working class parents who can't afford to either take work off or send their kids to private pre-K or move neighborhoods to where seats are available. Not everyone can get help from family, and feeling like your kids are already falling behind at just 2 years old is a horrible thing. This plan eradicates that. Not measles, though. You might have also seen that we're taxing the rich now. In the capital of capital, second homes worth more than $5 million and that sit empty most of the year are now going to be taxed. That'll bring in somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 million. You get it? Neighborhood? Which is really good news for a city where rent and property prices just keep going up. There are entire streets filled with empty apartments used by billionaires exclusively as improvised bank deposits. Much in the same way I use my Funkos, we're all just parking our money in a safe investment. At least now there's a public benefit to us doing what we do. Now, as with most of Mamdani's plans, billionaires went to the press to whine. They said, oh, this is a mistake, people are gonna leave, we don't want to kick out millionaires who spend so much in New York, blah, 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 blah. But they know they're not going anywhere. Taxes like these never actually drive out more than a tiny % of ultra-wealthy residents. Study. And at the end of the day, New York is New York. These guys can't avoid going there once in a while. If they can afford a $5 million apartment they barely use, they can afford this. They don't actually have any leverage, and boy does that feel good. So the city's getting more money coming in, and it's going to allow the mayor's office to do more of what they've already shown they can do well. Things like handling a historic blizzard, putting the screws to landlords, filling hundreds of thousands of potholes, getting rid of junk fees on hotels and delivery apps, and all this other stuff that this video is just not able to cover because we frankly underestimated how much Mamdani's done when we started this. And in the future, building more affordable housing, making buses free, and opening public grocery stores with the first one already announced for the end of the year. The wheels are already turning, and this is working. Having a socialist mayor is working. Not for nothing, but New Yorkers, by and large, they love the Zoe.
I like him. I like his smile. I think he's got good energy.
Love him.
I'm just amazed that he does so much.
Look at this. Up like a rocket, higher and higher. New York City voters have never felt better about the man that they elected to lead this city.
He has done a ton of great things already, not the least of which breaking with the left's traditional MO. Losing. We've gotten so used to elections being a contest between Mr. Neo-Shitlib and Bring Hitler Back Man that it's incredibly refreshing seeing someone on the left not just offering an alternative and winning on that line, but then actually doing pro-working class things once in power instead of clip-farming anti-Republican zingers, writing strongly worded letters, and going back to the nursing home. Like sewer socialists back in the 30s, Zohran is proving that socialists can both have the right ideas and get shit done. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Zohran isn't the US's first socialist in office. A century ago, cities like Milwaukee elected true-bred Reds to city councils and mayor's offices. And once in power, these sewer socialists delivered things like the first public housing co-op in the country, city-owned power and quarries, and, as the name implies, functional sewage systems. They even, in an echo of what's coming down the pike in New York, secured city-run affordable food and clothing. Once again, socialists in office, good, but sometimes bad too. For all the great things the Mamdani admin is doing, having the DSA sticker of endorsement doesn't give him a free pass. For all the progress made, there are some serious concerns I, and a lot of us on the left, have about how the next few years might go. And let's start with the biggest disappointment so far, the NYPD. We knew this was coming. Early in the election cycle, Mamdani committed to keeping Jessica Tisch on as NYPD commissioner, most recently seen here. You might not know her if you don't live in the city, but Tisch is well known there for both her connections to New York's financial elite, as an heiress of the Lowe's family fortune, and her, let's call it, conservative approach to policing, particularly against pro-Palestine protesters. She is a darling of the New York elite, and as one of the highest-ranking figures in the city, someone appointed directly by the mayor and the commander of 30,000 officers playing with the budget of an army, Tisch is not like any other appointment. Whoever has that role matters a lot. That she is such a diametrically opposed figure politically is one thing, but the more important issue is her track record since she's been in charge. Already, we've seen her commitment to so-called quality of life policing. Basically, sending cops to harass people in a sort of dragnet way. The idea of QOLP, or CULP as the kids call it, is you bring out the big guns for the little stuff to stop it at the source. It doesn't sound too unreasonable until you realize it's the same failed idea behind broken windows. It's putting guys with guns in situations where they're gonna escalate things. What does this look like in practice? For one, it looks like homeless people being dragged to court in droves for sleeping in subway cars. This started when Tisch was working for Adams, and it hasn't slowed down a bit under Zohran. You only sleep on the train if you truly have no other choice. For example, if you've been iced all night. But sicking the cops on people just trying to make do is overkill, and it doesn't take into account that the homeless have even less of a choice these days now that the Mamdani admin has, tragically, restarted doing homeless encampment sweeps. And the criminalization of homelessness is just one particularly cruel facet of this problem. The NYPD's also shown it's a problem in the way they've been collaborating with ICE.
Video shows ICE agents dragging a man outside of Wyckoff Heights Medical Center. We're working to find out why ICE took him into custody, but the NYPD says it had no involvement in this operation.
You may have heard about this already, but on May 2nd, NYPD arrested and used force against New Yorkers protesting ICE as the agency was arresting an undocumented immigrant in Bushwick. From what we know, ICE and the NYPD didn't coordinate ahead of time, so no laws were broken or anything. But that didn't stop officers on the scene aiding the US Gestapo as they dragged a handcuffed, clearly injured guy out of a hospital and pepper sprayed anybody getting in their way. The NYPD went so far as arresting and shoving protesters and even changing a tire on ICE's car so that they could get away. Facilitating ICE's operations like this is clearly not what should be happening with a socialist in charge, and it seriously undermines Zohran's supposed commitment to keeping New York a sanctuary city. Bottom line, by refusing to rein in the NYPD, Zohran puts a lot of New York's most over-policed and vulnerable communities at risk. This was already a bit of concern when he ran, but the fact that he backtracked on defunding the police and planned to keep Tisch in charge was supposed to be balanced by things like the Department of Community Safety.
And that this is an appointment that I would make in tandem with delivering on the agenda that we put forward over the course of the primary. That's an agenda that will create a Department of Community Safety. Yep. That is an agenda that will ensure that we are dismantling the strategic response group as the way the NYPD responds to protests. And it's an agenda that understands that safety and justice have to be delivered together. The most important thing is that we only ask those officers to do the work of policing, as opposed to now, we're asking them to also take on the homelessness crisis, the mental health crisis, so many different examples of the failures of the social safety net. That's going to be the focus of the Department of Community Safety.
If Tisch wasn't going anywhere, at least cops would be less of a nuisance. But so far, the SRG is still there, Tisch is still beating on protesters and the homeless, and the DCS is little more than an office with no budget. Now, I'll admit, we're still in the early days and I hope I'm proven wrong, but things like this hint at a bigger problem. We knew the minute Mamdani got into office, he'd have to contend with the establishment. Establishment Democrats, New York's elite, holdovers from the last administration. No one expected the mayor of a single city, no matter how committed he was or how big that city is, to deliver a socialist transformation overnight, free of any resistance or compromise. I'll even say that the way Zohran has worked with the establishment has been, for the most part, strategic and efficient. NYPD stuff notwithstanding, compromising with Hochul delivered free childcare and a luxury homes tax. Putting on a good show for Trump staved off the worst of ICE and reversed some deportations. In these compromises, Mamdani is sticking to his word. His goal is delivering on his program so that New York can lead by example and can't be dismissed in future elections across the country as just another failed socialist experiment. Socialists running for office need to be trusted. This is clearly a good priority. Okay, new outfit because I don't remember what I was wearing in the first part of the video and I'm not going to check. Also, if there are a lot of jump cuts in this section, it's because it's very stormy out there and there's some thunder, so I'm going to cut around that. Now, this is not where the video was meant to end. To tell you the truth, we had this episode most of the way done, but I wanted to add something last minute after the primaries, which just happened. Now, originally, I was going to get on my high horse and complain that Mamdani was, he was doing well, but slowly drifting away from his base and the DSA. After a few months, the videos from the mayor's office felt like they were wasting his talent for mobilizing. Zohran kept getting wins, that's great, but more and more of them were being diluted thanks to either the budget deficit or his alliances with the establishment. That is concerning. We don't want that becoming the norm, and to avoid that, we know we need more socialists in office and pressure from below. But we were losing the energy of the campaign's 100,000 volunteers. And I know that's normal after any election, but even right after Mamdani won, New York DSA signups flatlined at 2,000, and we were seeing promising socialists in New York either not getting endorsed or getting straight up sidelined. It started to feel like we won one important election, and that was going to be it. The ladder was being pulled up. We weren't building the alternative after all, and everything was going to hang on Mamdani not betraying us. Well, I'm genuinely happy to report that, at least as of right now, that's not what's happening. In the most recent primaries in New York, Mamdani endorsed candidates won, and in most cases, they won big. I can tell you firsthand that friends in the city had an incredibly easy time knowing who to vote for this year, even down ballot, thanks to Zohran's endorsements. And in the races that Zohran hadn't said anything about, in most cases DSA had a candidate they put forward, and people pretty much knew that was the same thing. Now, I don't know what kind of numbers Mamdani's team's looking at. Maybe we could have gone further and won a few more races, but the results speak for themselves. 9 out of 10 DSA wins ain't bad at all. Especially in those races where Mamdani endorsed candidates further to the left than even the Working Families Party, which is historically about as far left as candidates in New York go. More and more, it's looking like Zohran and DSA are carving out a space in the Democratic Party that's independent enough to win elections and, maybe soon, pass policies without the old capitalist guard. All this good press and electoral success is actively shifting the Overton window our way. As just one example, Daria Liza won on a platform of abolishing ICE, ending support to Israel, and saying fuck Kamala Harris. That's great news. It means that electoral politics is at least somewhat catching up to people's growing support for socialism. And the more this keeps working, in elections and in office, the more space we have to push even further left, both in mainstream politics and in our political organizations. So, I'm happy. For now. We'll see you in 2 weeks.